in stages. One group of people go first, another group goes second, so on and so forth. It's a process, in other words. Now, why should that be the case? Well, usually because growth comes, as I talked about earlier, from a division of trade and specialisation. And it comes from experimentation. Somebody discovers a new way of doing things. That person has a profit opportunity. They make more money, they get richer. Then society becomes less equal. Other people then see that and they imitate what they've done. So a baker finds a new way of baking bread. Other people imitate that, they get richer. And the process goes on. People move forward incrementally. Now, the problem is that, as I said, we can't move everything forward at the same time. We have to have inequalities. Progress has to happen step by step. Now, the second question then is, should this be a concern? Should we be worried about inequality? Well, in one sense, yes. If you believe that equality is more important than, if you like, prosperity, that it's more important that everybody's the same, that some people have a little bit more or a lot more, that's fine. And if you want to believe that a society where no one has a yacht, for example, is superior to a society where some people have 2 yachts, some people have 1 yacht, some people have 8 yachts, fair enough, you know, prefer equality. That's a normative choice you can make. My own view is that it's better to live in a society where people are all wealthier, but some people have more than others. In other words, I believe that everybody should have sufficient, but not that everybody should be equal. And the quote you raised from Headicar was actually out of context, and Heidecar's making it an entirely different point to the point that Fabian makes. Because what Headicar argues in his work is for a guaranteed minimum income, as does Milton Friedman for that case, and as do I in my book, which you are unable to buy, of course, because it's so expensive, which wasn't my choice. Let me say, because the reason why academic books are so expensive is because government funding of academic libraries. Because academic libraries have to buy all academic books. The government pumps money into them, so it's a way of extracting money from the government. That's why publishers put such a high cost in academic books. It's due to government intervention.
Not true.
I missed that, sorry.
Not true.
It is true.
Wait until later.
Well, let's say a bit more about equality as well. Inequality. Well, there's lots of figures bandied about inequality. For example, about child poverty. And I have a very brilliant PhD student who's doing some work on relative poverty and absolute poverty. And he's done some work on child poverty in Poland and the UK. Now, according to some figures, you'll see there's more child poverty in the UK than in Poland. And if you take a relative measure of poverty, that's absolutely true. Children are more relatively worse off in the UK than in Poland. However, if you merge the two countries together, if you merge that data set, you'll find that every child in the UK is taken out of poverty and every child in Poland is put into poverty. That's because relative poverty is a nonsensical measure. I see people confused. I can explain it again if you want. Okay, let's try to take it again. On a relative measure of poverty, so taking poverty as 6% of mean income, child poverty is higher in the UK than in Poland. That means that the UK is relatively more equal than Poland. Poland is more equal. However, if you merge the two countries together, every child in the UK is taken out of poverty, every child in Poland is put into poverty. Because also when you make the relative whole, Poland and the UK, people in Poland then are relatively worse off. Now, I would argue that therefore those children in Poland are worse off than children in the UK. There's high relative poverty in the UK, but everybody in Poland is poorer than people in the UK. So in a sense it's a normative choice, sure. If you want to go the Poland way, have more equality, but more poverty, fine, you can do that. So to summarise, it's certainly true that capitalism produces inequality. And if you have a really high preference for equality, then that's clearly a bad thing. My own view is that people should have sufficient income. I do think it's a role for the state, as part of the framework within which we place the market, that the state should ensure everybody has a guaranteed minimum income. And that's a standard libertarian argument. It's the argument that Hayek makes, it's the argument Friedman makes, and it's the argument that I made in my own book.
I'm just going to deal with a few points. I may not be following this. First of all, this Nirvana trick. You can't have anything outside capitalism, that's Nirvana. You can't have anything we haven't thought of, that's Nirvana. You can't use your imagination to envisage a society without money, without profit, that's nirvana. It ain't nirvana. It affects the lives of all of us who think like that. It isn't nirvana for us. It affects the way we live with one another. It affects the ethics that we have. It is not nirvana. Sure, it needs a change of consciousness, but it ain't nirvana. If we do not believe people are capable of making such a change of consciousness, why do we argue anything at all? Change of consciousness takes place dramatically in society. When I became a vegetarian 46 years ago, there was 1.5 restaurants in London. The one closed at 8:30. It was full of people with pimples and wearing sandals. And the half closed at 3 o'clock. And I always made up my mind that if ever I became a wealthy man, I would open a vegetarian nightclub of such ambience and joie de vivre that meat eaters would fight to get in. But now, of course, there are so many million vegetarians, millions and millions of us, that anywhere you go will have a vegetarian option on the menu. How did that change of consciousness take place? They used to laugh at me when I became a vegetarian, say nobody agrees with you, you're 1 in a million. Well, I ain't any more. As for equality, the Socialist Party doesn't say we should share out everything in the world. We all have different lifestyles. If you come down the pub with us afterwards, you'll find out how bloody different we are. Of course we are. We have different lifestyles. Some of us may choose to have some things. Others may have others. Some may want a huge television and computer. I might want my Norfolk asparagus and Jersey potatoes. Somebody might fancy one of my kaleidoscopes, but have found a book I really love that's worth practically nothing, and I'll do an exchange for my valuable kaleidoscope. I mean, what is all this? We don't think about sharing things out. Some people will live modestly in such a society, others less modestly. Some might live in a tent next to a sewer. Others might live in a bigger place. It doesn't matter to me as long as I'm content with what I have, and I am. I'm one of the few people here in this room, I should imagine, with no savings, no property insurance, no house insurance. So if you want to come down and burgle me, you're all right. Because those things really do not matter to me. What matters to me is the ethics that I hold and try not to violate them. Just one more thing about statistics. Of course, there are all kinds of statistics. And of course, we can talk about relative poverty. But the whole thing is so fluctuating. John might say, I picked my statistics. I might say he picked his. But here's a real up-to-date statistic. From the United States again, the flagship of America, the flagship of the market economy, of capitalism, not the market economy, sorry. They claim to be sometimes, but they're not. Absolute, at the level, we won't talk about America, I've done enough of that. We're talking instead about world undernourishment. And I'm not talking now about, I haven't got time to talk about America, I'm not talking now about relative things. This is for people who are seriously undernourished. Right? Seriously, absolute undernourishment. This number fell dramatically in the 70s. It did, under capitalism. It fell by 37 million. In the 90s, it fell by 3 million. Between 2001 and 2003, it has risen by 19 million again. It's up and down any year you look at these statistics. Nothing is being done. I say again, these are a shame on our society. And to say that to talk about a society in which these things may not exist, to dismiss it as nirvana, is playing tricky games.